Hello and welcome to this video series brought to you by the Economic Times in association with SAS. My name is Muqbil Ahmer and I am at the SAS Innovate on Tour event in Mumbai, and I am the executive editor at ETCIO and the host for this session. Now, before we begin the discussions, let me add some context to it. The technology landscape is rapidly evolving. We see that. And in order to stay competitive, relevant enterprises are having to adopt a lot of those technologies. Now, as with anything new, there are an entire infrastructure, an entire policy making happens around it, which includes the regulatory framework, the compliance framework, and keeping all of that in mind. We would like to discuss all of that and the role that emerging technologies, for example, artificial intelligence, AI, is playing in helping organizations and enterprises innovate. Now, as we understand, the entire edifice of AI rests on the quality of data, the structuredness of data, the purity of data, the fact that the data is not biased, and all of that. So the entire superstructure of AI would depend on the quality of data that you have. And to discuss all that, we have a very senior technology friend with us, and it's my pleasure to introduce Rajaram Balasubramaniam, Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Data and Analytics at Aavas Financiers. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you so much.
So Rajaram, my first thought is that we have spoken about how data analytics, AI, has really exploded on the scene, and their impact is prevalent across all sectors, all domains, all industries. Housing finance, your sector. So in that respect, what do you think is the role that they can play in really upping the game as far as innovation is concerned, as far as coming up with new business models is concerned, particularly with respect to the sector that you belong to?
Right. So I want to go back to your introduction when you very rightfully said that in this competitive world, how do companies remain competitive? How do they grow to scale? These are the key metrics, whether you're a housing finance, whether you're a bank. These are the questions that are being asked. And now more and more, it is no longer the tools that I bring to the table or the models do I bring to the table. It's about what outcomes we are bringing, right? So if you look at being competitive, remaining competitive at scale, there are three parts to it. One is your product itself, what your value you're offering to the customer. Second is the experience for the customer, which leaves a mark on them and how they speak about your brand. The third part is how do you keep that portfolio operationally efficient, cost efficient, and risk mitigated so that it's sustainable for you from a revenue and profit perspective, right? So if you look at it today, when you look at AI and analytics, none of these components can escape from the developments in technology that have happened, right? So broadly on AI analytics, three things have changed in the last decade or so. Availability of cloud infrastructure, which means that it's not just the large banks that can take benefit of these things. It is now accessible to everybody, correct? The second is the AI models themselves, how they are available, are no longer that you need to hire just scientists to get it. Scientists having them are good, but there are products that will let you start experimenting with models, even if your skills are not to the level that they needed to be 10, 15, 20 years ago, correct? And the last one is how the digital infrastructure in the country has grown, and that brings to the data. So that the data has come from the people, for the people, and that data now can be leveraged by these models, which then these cloud guys are leveraging to make it accessible to everybody, right? This framework is now sitting so well currently in our market, and that giving us ability to leverage, right? So all of the questions that I told you, right? What kind of products to offer somebody. Now, one of the biggest on the product side, if I have to go into examples on each one of those, I'll give you one example on each of those. There are multiple examples, but because paucity of time, I'll give you one example of each. if you really look at the product side, 20-25 years ago when I started working, banks had three different models. You had the derivatives trading market model, that was different. Then you had the ICG, the corporate model, where the product was catered to a particular individual. And then there was the consumer model that was like supposed to be a one size fits all. You make a credit card, you sell it to 6 million people, and that's your book, right? But today with AI, not necessary that it's a one size fits all. Even within that, I can make a more informed decision, whether it's on risk, whether it's on pricing, whether it's on features for Rajaram.
True, true.
So that's the benefit that it's giving me to optimize not just a product at a portfolio level, but optimize and customize the product at a customer level. Not that I'm saying every customer will have a different product, but you know what I'm saying. There is ability to tweak that is what I'm getting.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right? No, and I see that the drift that the technology has taken. What you're talking about is hyper personalization.
Yeah.
And I think data and AI and analytics are playing a critical role in that. And I do believe that there would come a stage when we would have personalization of one.
Yeah.
Each and every customer will be catered to in a specific and a unique manner. And another very important point that you raised was about how technology, for example, cloud has been a big leveler. Gone are those days when the traditional big companies always had an edge.
Yes.
It is the exact reverse today. The younger you are, the more agile you are.
Absolutely.
Your appetite for new technology
Absolutely.
is humongous. And these technologies are having an impact across industries and domains. What is their impact on something like housing finance? What is the current state of housing finance? And how are you, as Aavas, impacting that landscape?
That's a question very close to my heart, and I'll tell you why. Because now, if you look at India today, the housing loan market is close to about 30 trillion rupees.
My God.
Now, out of this 30 trillion rupees, 8% is classified as rural.
Rural?
Yes.
My God.
And there was one estimate that I saw which said that almost 33 lakh crores is the deficit to MSMEs. The point I'm trying to make is, while the portfolio is growing, while the loan book is growing, there is a clear divide between how the urban areas work versus the rural areas, and I'll come to why in a second. And the second thing is, if you look at the opportunity today, the kind of unprecedented infrastructure activity that is going, a lot of that impact is actually coming in the tier 2, 3, 4, 5 towns. And that, coupled with the fact that today India's mortgage to GDP is about 12%, and in the rural areas almost 2.5%. While the opportunity is there, for some reason, to a large extent, they still remain underserved and unserved, because today traditionally banking has been around people who can show a Form 16 or a salary, or you can see that the risk appetite for banks hasn't really changed. So that's where the difference today comes. Out of the 8% that you're calling as rural, that are non-urban areas, a large part of that loan book is actually held by HFCs today. So one of the primary things, to answer your point, is that within this housing segment, HFCs are making that difference. We have built a niche for ourselves in this market where we have been successfully able to prove that not only we can operate in the tier 2, 3, 4 segment, but we can operate in segments like self-employed within that, which even in cities, self-employed large banks, if you look, they have a very small percentage.
Correct, correct.
I come from the formal segment, so I know in the past that 70-80% is usually salaried, self-employed, smaller, but here's the other way around. So I think what Aavas has been able to do is to go down to the roots and say, okay, I'm not going to look at it as a product that's going to fit you, but I'm going to get to know you as a customer and then see how I can sell my product to you. I think that's the differentiation that we have made. So which is also a good thing and a challenge when it comes to data and analytics, because when you go down to that level and you start doing this level of understanding the customer, your process is then a combination of objective data, which is numerical, and subjective data, which is inside the mind of the credit assessor. So my challenge then now is to say, how do we scale this process? What do we do? But to answer your question, I think Aavas's goal which I think to a large extent, we truly believe in, is that our goal is to empower and upgrade the life of these people in these underserved, unserved markets, and make sure that we are able to give them accessible home loans. I think that's where the difference has been made.
Right. You have spoken about the challenges a bit, and you have also been witness to SaaS implementations, and there have been success stories. So, would you like to dwell on the entire journey, how and when, and which challenges were the ones that this implementation was able to solve for you?
So I think I want to go back and say two parts. One is I'll also tell you my personal experience with SaaS. I have been I know SaaS since 2002. I started coding in SaaS in 2002. Across the companies that I've worked with, I've worked in 4 different countries, and I don't think there's been a single day where I walked into office and did not have some form of SaaS running somewhere where I was sitting. So that hasn't changed yet. So that's how prevalent SaaS is across financial institutions. I think it's very ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous.
It is in your. It's just there as part of the entire infrastructure always, right? So even within ours, we've been using SaaS when I started in 2021. But at that time, it was not a formal server-based thing. It was more of running on desktops here and there. So that's the first thing we did, was to consolidate everything, bring it into an enterprise architecture where we moved it to a server-based thing. And immediately that started showing us benefits, because we could start centralizing how code was being created. We could start centralizing how data was being generated, how data was being understood, where data was being stored, etc. Right? So that is one benefit that we got. The second thing that we wanted to do was, as part of our digital transformation, we wanted to understand how we can leverage AI technology and use these new technologies like APIs, etc. See, the APIs, I can give you a small example.
Please.
First time I started doing this, like making decisions, taking on systems, was in 2005 in my previous company, which was Citi. At that time, let's say sales books alone, it goes through a batch run, it comes to me, I run a rule, it goes through a batch run, goes back to sales, so it's at least 48 to 70 hours before the reply goes back. But today, I can write a rule, and when the sales guy presses a button, API will hit here, get the data, give the answer back to him when he or she is still with the customer. That's how far we've come. So to do that, we kind of needed a platform that will not just let us get our data in one place, but clean that data, use that data, create the models, deploy the models. And the best part is a tool like SaaSvaya lets you do all of that, and I didn't have to hire any technology person at all. You can write a model.
Because you're already very familiar.
One of my team can do it, plus technology. SaaSvaya in the backend does a lot of the work. Like today, for example, if I have to create a model and expose that API, SaaSvaya does everything with zero code. I just copy that API, give it to technology, and they can use it. So it's fairly easy to deploy, easy to maintain, etc. That's where we've started using technologies like this. So see, my previous company was very different because the size of the technology team, the size of the capabilities are different. But in a company like ours, we need to be nimble. We need to focus on what we are good at.
True.
I don't want to build a 60-member team and say these guys are technology, they will do that. Is not my expertise, which is where technologies like this, which consolidates those features, which I can leverage for doing my business strategy, right? That's that's where our journey with SaaS over the last 2 years has grown, and I'm very excited to see how much we can push this in this using GenAI, etc. The next steps that we just saw today.
True. So it seems that you're well on the road ahead with SaaS as far as your collaboration in emerging areas of technology is concerned. For example, AI, data analytics. What are your future plans of leveraging these technologies, as far as the future is concerned?
So there are 4, apart from those 3 things that I told you in the beginning, where what features you're giving, product features, you're making sure your operating metrics, your operational efficiency, risk management, and customer service. There are 4 main pillars for our company. One is culture. The other one is a customer-centric approach. The third is our credit quality. And the fourth is efficiency. These are 4 things that we are focusing on in every aspect, whether it's from a business aspect, whether it's from a data aspect, technology aspect, whether it's from a compliance aspect, whatever it is, right? So we are focusing on these 4 things. And if you look at in the context of what's happening in the market, 3 out of those 4 things for sure, whether you take customer-centric approach, credit quality and efficiency, it is very hard in today's world to separate that from technology, data, analytics and AI.
True.
Right? I mean, if you say 10 things, at least 7 to 8 of them can be delivered through that. So I think in the future, I always say that when you want to scale, you need to have reliable outcomes. And to do reliable outcomes, you need 2 things. One, what I call as standardization, which is what somebody does. Everybody needs to do the same thing. And 2 is consistency, how they do it. The more you do these 2 things, the more reliable your output will be, and the more you can lower the differences at scale. Whether you do 100 or 1,000, your outcome will still give you what you want, which is what we want to do, right? So that's how it ties up, saying, how do we drive, whether it's the customer experience or an efficiency, and how do we take that and drive that scale for the future?
Absolutely. I think it's been a fabulous discussion with you, Rajaram, particularly with respect to new and emerging technologies, for example, data, AI, and how essential it is for enterprises to innovate in order to stay relevant. And we have covered a diverse range of subjects in this direction. For example, we have spoken about customer experience, how do we increase efficiency, and most importantly, the critical role that something like data analytics can play in something like hyper personalization.
Yes.
How do you customize each and every product to each and every unique individual and make them feel wanted and special? It's been a lovely discussion with you, Rajaram.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And I am sure the audience would have had a lot to take away from this discussion. And in going by the way new technologies are impacting industries and sectors across the board. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you again.
Thank you.